Tonight on Hunter's podcast, we got a big one for you. We have an interview with composer Adam Langston. We talked to him about his soundtrack, his score to I'll Play Mother, which is out now on VOD. You can watch that, and you can get the soundtrack on YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple, everywhere you want to go. All those places. Plus, we are going to get into and finally have our full concrete review of Busch Gardens Williamsburg Howl-O-Scream and the Fiends Frenzy 5K. Fiends Frenzy 5K. Fiends Frenzy 5K. How now, brown cow? The arsonist had very oddly shaped feet.
Sure, it's not Frenzy Fiends? No, it's not.
Don't love everything
that's
happening.
The fall, like sniffles, like allergies.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're intense this year.
And cabins. All right, let's get into this bad mammy jammy. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to all our Patreon members who support this show. You guys are the backbone, and because of that, we are going to send majority of you, if not all, we'll figure out shipping and handling, a sweet surprise that I am creating, an idea I came up with, and Brooke backed it. It's like, yeah, do it, baby. We need to do that. So that's coming down the pike before this show goes away, because remember, our final episode, November 2nd, final episode ever of Haunter's Podcast. It will be Brooke, myself, and Wendy all in the house talking, giving some dirty details of how we feel and stuff like that, so you don't want to miss it. Also, Spooktacular is a couple of weeks away. You're talking an unboxing's going to happen. You're talking Red Vein Haunt actor Zach Hilton, his little documentary of how it went. Find out, and Brooke will ask some questions, and, we'll get into the feeling of the Red Vein Haunt. We also have Tom Atkins nights. One more time, we got Tom Atkins Horror Nights happening. All this and more. Good God Almighty, everything's happening.
So much. I mean, it's the beginning of October.
It's spooky season.
It's spooky season,
We spooky
people.
Up in here. But also, tomorrow, we are dropping a very special Haunters, which is the house ranking and Scare Zone ranking of 2024's Halloween Horror Nights. So don't miss that, because we got great guests. We got Matt Wade from Theme Park News Network coming on. We have Review at Rob from the Review at Rob show coming on. We have Jimmy from the Horrific Network coming on. So many guests to finalize. So little time. To finalize our Haunter's Podcast, our final list.
Yes.
Can't wait. But right now, we're going to get into an interview with the composer of a little movie that you can get on VOD right now, I'll Play Mother. So check out this interview with Adam. What a great time. Here you go. Okay, gang, we are back. We are back with another interview, and I'm very excited about this one because not only do we have a composer who's worked in so many fields, so many movies, award-winning movies, Oscar-winning movies. He is a composer. He is an orchestrator. He is the one and the only, and he has a soundtrack out right now for I'll Play Mother, which you can check out on Spotify. You can hear it on YouTube, his YouTube. I'd like to welcome to the show Adam Langston. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor. It's a privilege. You are in a field that I find most interesting about movies. Like, music is one of those things that if you don't have that done well in a film, it could go one way or another. Like, honest to God.
It's important. Yeah, it's really important, isn't it?
And watching Owl play Mother, I really do feel the music is such a great instrument, no pun intended, for the film because, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this of how you came together with the score because when I was listening to it, and I could be off base, so let me know, but it has a thriller vibe mixed with a horror movie vibe. So almost like Poltergeist meets Kiss the Girls in a sense. And I was wondering, how did that come to be? Was that natural when you saw the movie, or is this something like that took a while to plan?
That's a very, very astute observation, actually, of Poltergeist, because Poltergeist is one of the scores that Brad used as a reference. So that was literally, it was like, you know, this piece of music from Poltergeist works quite well here. This one won't do. So yeah, great. Yeah, it was. Oh, now I've forgotten the first part of the question.
How you just like blended it well between like a thriller and a ghost movie, a horror movie
right.
almost.
That's right. Yeah, because you're right. It's not like a sort of 100% horror movie. Certainly not in the music.
Right.
There is a lot of more sort of emotional parts in the music, as in music which is addressing the sort of emotional journey or the emotions that these characters are feeling. Because it is quite emotive when these two children, a brother and sister who've lost their mother, and so are getting adopted. And so, you know, you can imagine how much fact you see in the film, tensions and things running very high, and you can go to some dark places. Along with this mystery of like what's actually happening, you know, is it like haunting, or what, you know, what is it? Yeah, so that's right. I think there's definitely a mixture of the stuff from Poltergeist, but not, you know, not just the horror, the more family-oriented music as well, I think. Yeah, and then that as well.
Yeah, I picked that up, and I think that's where the Poltergeist came into my mind, is because whenever the kids were on screen, you could get that playful kind of toy instrument sound instead of some, you know, like a cello or a creepy violin playing. I think you really knocked it out of the park with encompassing all kinds of instruments through this. What was it like as well? Because wildly enough, didn't know this, but Christmas kind of plays a part in the soundtrack as well because it takes place in some part of that. So what was it like incorporating Christmas into it? So it just felt like you were on your toes trying to make the score.
Yeah, there was a lot to. You're right. That was another part of it, and you want the whole thing to be sort of coherent and feel like, you know, one. So yes, that was actually lots of fun doing the Christmas music, because it was in a couple of scenes where, or certainly one scene where it's almost used like source music. It's like they're hearing it, I think, on their in their room,
right,
on their music, on their stereo, and then we have additional layers of very much darker sort of score which they can't hear, you know, actual score coming in at the same time underneath that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's it just adds to that double, you know, that two-sided thing of it being a nice family Christmas sort of aspect to it, and also this much darker side as well.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the Christmas thing adds to that, adds to the effect of that family sort of feeling.
For sure. Do you enjoy playing in the thriller horror world? Like, looking at your IMDb, like you've been a part of many productions like that people would know, the Cats, the Independence Day films, the White House Down. Like, not a lot of horror per se, but do you like playing in that field?
I do, yeah, I very much do. I think it's with horror, sometimes it feels like the music can play quite a big part. I mean, that's the case in most films, but you can sort of notice the music a bit more sometimes in horror, and it's not a problem. Like it's kind of part of the experience a little bit, I think, you know, with tension and things like that. I noticed this, just to go off on a tangent. Hostel.
Yes.
I found in that the music, which was fantastic by Nathan Barr, and I found that it was it added to it came in and you really noticed it, and it actually added to the enjoyment and the entertainment, because when it wasn't there, it got quite intense. There were times when it would be almost like you're watching this really happening like a documentary, and it's quite uncomfortable. And when the music comes in, it just brings an element of, this is entertainment actually, and you sort of, I was very interested by that when I saw it, because I thought it's less to make it more scary, and it's more to almost give a release of the tension, and to, like, I don't know, but at the same time it ratchets up the tension. I don't know, but I've there's been loads of horror scores that I've loved in my life, like Candyman. There's another one by Philip Glass back in the 90s, and things from earlier like Nightmare on Elm Street, and I think there's so much great stuff. The Omen. These are all quite old, I know, but I think currently now as well, like Smile, has amazing music. I do like it. I think it's very, it's a very varied area to sort of work in, I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like, I mean, I've seen it said many a times that, the movie Halloween played completely different without John Carpenter's score to it. So, I mean, you saying that right there just proves a point that music is very important to those fronts. And is there a property that you would actually love to, like, play in that sandbox, like a Candyman or a Nightmare on Elm Street? Is there one that you would prefer?
Gosh, I don't know. I haven't quite thought about it in that way, because for me at the moment, the great thing about scoring films is working with people who become friends, and you have a sort of relationship with and a trust with, and also we enjoy similar things, have similar tastes and things like that. So when you're working on something together, it sort of works really well. So I think, I sort of feel more like whatever I would like to get involved in whatever projects are happening where people would, where the director would, where it's a director I've worked with or someone who'd like to have me. But
right.
Horror things. I mean, I suppose it would be fun to do something like a Halloween where there's an established theme and you get to play with that. That's very good as well. So easier than coming up with a new Halloween theme. It would be
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you would play in anybody's if you could just kind of tweak it.
Sorry?
I was going to say, like, you wouldn't mind playing in any of them, but just, like, bring your own tweaks to it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street had an amazing theme. That would be fun to play with as well. Yeah, and you would tweak it to, the context of whatever that new film, the story is, whether it's like maybe a prequel or, something happening, much later. Yeah, I think it's all just such good fun, and it's all, I feel very lucky to do any of it. So yeah.
That's awesome. So in your credits, it's labeled as an orchestrator. So I'm imagining that you just, like, your day is filled with just playing with these big orchestras, and you're kind of in control of it.
Well, yeah, orchestration is when you take the music. You get the music from the composer, whatever form that's taken. Usually, it's a really good demo, really good mocked-up version, and you're sort of translating that into something which is playable by musicians, whatever number and whatever instruments you've got, you're going to use.
Right.
And then recording it is obviously really fun. The control, I mean, the conductor also is an important one, who they're directing musicians in the room.
Right.
And like, that's more of a performing role as well. In the same way that musicians have to perform the music, the conductor is there to help with that performance as well. And so, orchestrator, you could be in the booth, in the behind the glass listening.
Oh wow!
But if you do your job really well, then it's all the information that the musicians and the conductor need should be on the page. That's kind of what you're trying to provide. so they can get it recorded in 1 or 2 goes, really, 1 or 2 parts.
Wow. Do you like that portion of the job, or is like scoring and actually, like you creating your own work, is it like, do you prefer one over the other, or are they two completely different monsters?
They are, yeah, they're different, really. I do like them both. I mean, they're challenging in different ways as well.
Mm.
I do love orchestrating because I've always loved film music,
Right.
soundtracks. I was always listening to those, so it is really fun for me to work on other composers' music in that way as well, because it's like
Right.
I'd probably be listening to that stuff anyway.
Right.
And then and then composing is obviously more, it's you're working with the director, and you're working on you're sort of thinking more about the story and the arc of it and the sort of architecture of the music in the film, and less specifically about individual musicians in the orchestra. So they're very different, but they can both take up all your time. So it's hard. You need to try and find a balance, I guess. You can't. It'd be quite hard to do both at the same time, I imagine.
Right.
But yeah, I do like both. It's great to work in film scores, because I love that.
Oh, I imagine. You also work in theater as well, like stage plays. Like, how is that world different from the movie world?
Yes, no, that is a bit different. When it comes to plays,
Mhm.
they need less music, I think, than films, almost all, because it's in a play. You wouldn't really want, when there's a scene happening in a play with people talking, you usually wouldn't want score in the background. There might be music if it's in the scene, like they can hear it if they're in a bar or something. But I think because the people are right there, you're actually in the room with them, then you don't need score to help with that sort of suspension of disbelief, and to help almost distract the brain from the fact that we're watching on a film. You're seeing basically 24 still images per second, aren't you? It's going around fast really quickly, and there's a certain kind of artificiality to it in that way, which isn't with the play, because it's happening right there. So I think that's quite interesting, and so there's less music, and it can cross over a bit into sound design as well, I think, with plays. But yeah, I found there's less music. The stuff I've done, it can be at the end of a scene or a scene change or something like that. And I suppose other than that, they are similar. You're trying to, maybe at the end of a scene, you're trying to do something which almost sums up what we've seen, or sort of cues up what we're about to see. I guess every show is different, isn't it? But it's. And the other thing, I suppose, with live events is that there's a slightly less. There's always another performance. You could always change things if you wanted to. Which with film you can't. Once it's out, pretty much, it's not gonna change under most circumstances. So yeah, it's a bit more. I don't know. I suppose with film, there's a bit more pressure to just get the final version.
Right, because that's the only version of this. Like in theater, you get to come back. If you did mess up, at least like you can fix it or something like that. In movies, that's it. That's the final.
Yeah.
I also read up on you that you've worked on the Frozen show at Disney World.
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, that's a completely different world to be in, honestly.
Yeah, that is, isn't it? I mean, that's a huge, in terms of the sort of spectacle of it, that's enormous, because it's that, it's like Cinderella's castle, and there's fireworks going off, and it's also music which people love, and there are fans there, and they're very familiar with it. So it's I think that was a case of sort of expanding it. You can expand it because people are seeing it out of context, so it's not quite as bedded into the story as when it's in the film. It's more of a thing that people know, and they've come almost to more like a concert, I suppose.
Right.
So it's a bit different, and it's just a matter of respecting that. It helps if you really enjoy that music, which I do. And taking what people expect or what they know, and just sort of fitting it to that spectacle, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Now, working for theme park compared to like movies, is it easier to work with behind the scenes, those kind of environments via movie or theme park?
It was kind of similar, because it was still we recorded the music. It wasn't being played live it was being played over speakers in the Disney.
Right.
So, it was similar, really. I guess again, you're not quite so locked to a picture, to a film, but still, it was all very planned out and very choreographed. So I'd say it was similar, yeah, and the people involved from Disney are the same or similar people who work on movies as well, I think. So it's I suppose the fact that it is already a known property, though, and they know it's hugely popular and people love it, there's a slightly more relaxed feeling, and they're not, that's not a worry, is that the music's not going to be good or something like that. It's already
it's already embedded. Did they give you free tickets to go to Disney? Did Disney at least send you to go check out your own show?
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't. No.
Oh man, I'll have to call somebody. I'll find somebody that works there for you. And since I have you are a composer in the works. You've done so much. You've worked on Academy Award-winning or nominated stuff like Les Mis. Like, what is your feeling currently? Because one thing that I kind of find scary, and someone brought this up to me, and it blew me away because I was like, they can't do this. So I really don't want this to be a thing. What are your thoughts on like somebody making a score for an independent film or whatever, but done through AI? Like, has that ever been a fear lately?
I mean, not yet, because I haven't really heard that done yet, but maybe it has been, I'm just not aware. But I'm not sure. Are there not sort of copyright issues, or rather, I think if you make music with some of these AI tools, then the creator, will be liable for any sort of copyright infringement which might have happened.
Right.
So that might be a problem. I'm sure people will do it. It's just it seems a bit risky for any sort of big production to do, because they've probably got the resources to hire whoever they want anyway. And if there was any, because it still seems like a bit of a grey area, maybe, doesn't it? I think AI music. There are certainly tools. I mean, I think some things are called AI when maybe they're not exactly AI, and there are certain tools which I'm sure we composers already use, which to help with mixing, or to help, I don't know, which maybe claim to be AI. Maybe it's not. But in terms of having an AI write a score, I don't know. Are you aware of that?
I just recently I was talking to someone who works on indie movies, and I mean independent, like Indiegogo, stuff like that, like getting it made themselves. And one of the questions that came up were, like, I made a weird horror beat through an app. He had nothing to do with it. He just free use. And he was just like, what if I use this as my score? And personally, no, thank you. Because I am very much into creators, being able, through acting, writing, all this, and for me, music being the most important, like I told you at the beginning, I just don't see how that's a win, if that makes sense. Like, it just feels kind of soulless in a way. It won't understand the scene, like how you've been able to mix Poltergeist to Christmas. I personally would never like that.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And from your point of view, you wouldn't get an AI on your show and start asking
Exactly. How am I supposed to talk to some computer face?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of sympathize with, if someone really wants to make a film and they just don't have any resources, then
Right.
you can't really, if the tools are available, then they're going to use them. And I do sympathize with that. I mean, you can't really say, well, you can't do that just because it would be better to use a person.
Right.
Because I'm sure there are lots of times, there's going to be lots of times when they're making a film where it would be better to do, it would be preferable to do something, but they just can't.
Right.
For reason. So I don't know, maybe they would try it, and maybe it would encourage them to use a person next time if it wasn't quite what they're looking for. Or maybe, I don't know.
Kind of like your director used the Poltergeist themes beforehand to be like, hey, this is where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, exactly. Just using things like that as a tool. I mean, and also, if it is somebody who just doesn't have resources and they were never going to be able to use a person anyway, then
Right.
No one's really lost out exactly.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
I'm sort of playing devil's advocate. Probably it's obviously it would be nice if the AI was there as a tool for people to use, not to replace them.
Right.
So I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, if we're talking about, I can see both sides of it. If you're just a kid making a film on your own, then in a way, is it different than, I don't know, using stock sound effects or?
Right.
I guess it is different, but it's hard to say really. I don't want to I wouldn't want to condemn. I guess it's case by case, isn't it? I don't want to condemn people without knowing what's the context of their situation.
Yeah. Well,
AI.
Todd, you're in trouble if you do that. And that's coming from me and not Adam. Oh my gosh. Well, Adam Langston, thank you for coming on. Once again, his soundtrack, I'll Play Mother, is out now. You can listen to it on his YouTube or Spotify, iTunes. I know the single's out on Amazon, which is what I use, but I will throw a link in the description. Is there anything else, Adam, you would like to plug, whether it's social media or upcoming things you got going on?
No, I think you've done it really. It'd be nice if people would like to check out the soundtrack. Yeah, have a listen, and I hope they enjoy it. Yeah,
I think it's not only good for the movie, but if you are into spooky atmosphere, if you want something kind of creepy, and if you randomly have a haunted house that has some Christmas themes in it, you can use the soundtrack, I'll Play Mother.
Please do.
Awesome. Adam, thanks again for coming on, my friend.
Thanks so much, Zach. Thank you. It's been great.
What an interview! Good job.
Thank you.
What an interview. What a guy. What a composer. He's worked on so many films, Academy Award winning and nominated films. Movies like Les Mis. Movies like White House Down.
Can I just say, you asked some really good questions.
I know I did. I started with a banger.
You did.
I started with a banger.
Threw him off.
I did. Adam, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coughing during my thank you.
I told you, it's the fall.
It's the fall. It's a little tingle. I'll cut that
Okay,
out.
you hurt somebody's ears.
All right, let's get into our review for a little event called Busch Gardens Williamsburg's Howl-O-Scream. Here are we.
Yeah.
We took our Core Memory Unlocked friends to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and we
For
said
their first time ever.
first time ever at Howl-O-Scream.
Yes.
They've been to Busch Gardens before.
Yes.
Leanne more so than Ja, obviously. But This was their first Howl-O-Scream encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew we wanted to go one more time before we gave the real
Right.
review for Howl-O-Scream. So this is it. This is how I feel overall. Overall thoughts on the event.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a decent year.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job with the scare zones they have.
Yes.
Where, the new ones kind of play well.
Mm-hmm. They're very interactive. The scare
Very.
actors are very, they're doing a great job. Like, they
Yeah.
are in your face. They are very playful, and I am here for it.
I think my favorite one's the anniversary year.
Oh,
the
yeah,
one by the
yeah,
cake,
yeah.
because like a lot of characters from times
Throughout.
past.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job because there's a bunch of scare actors there coming at you
Mm-hmm.
from old school masquerade looking ones, from the skull looking guys, from the old Pompeii ones and stuff. Like they did a really good job. So kudos to that. The houses, I think Killarney Diner's still a standout.
Yeah.
I think the Lost Mines is a standout.
I really liked Lost Mines. I think that they did a really good job there.
I think currently I've gotten a okay run with Monster Manor, and a bad one, obviously, for what we said before.
Yeah.
But then, out of new houses as well, Clown Town, which was supposed to be an acclamation of all the clowns from over the years at Howl-O-Scream, an absolute nightmare. Absolute. Like, they dressed it up, and I think even some of the decorations, I was like, this is really good. We're in for a treat.
Yeah.
And it took till about halfway there when I realized
Oh.
no one's there.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that maybe we just had a really rough run through. I really wanted to go through it again to give it like a valid.
I think we will. I think we'll go one more time.
Yeah, to give it a valid review.
Mm-hmm.
But at surface level of going through, it was just really rough. Like the scares, the way where they had people placed,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it was as effective as it could be.
I agree. I think show-wise, it's still difficult. If you only come to the event, like, I don't think there's a way you could possibly see all the shows. So if you want to do shows, make sure you come during the daytime, probably about 1, probably about noon, to get the shows in and then save 1 or 2. Deathwater Bayou, we didn't talk about that, but that house still stands well.
Yeah. I think it's a good middle of the pack type house.
Yeah, I will say, even though Clown Town was not what I expected, I would say this is probably the best run of houses.
No, that's very fair. That's very fair.
I think overall, if you live in Virginia and you feel you want to go to a theme park, spooky time, Halloween time event that's going to last multiple hours, or if you are just a purist of Howl-O-Scream, it's a good go-to event. I don't think this is an event that if you lived in Jersey, if you lived in West Virginia, South Carolina, maybe North Carolina.
But I feel like a lot of people from that distance make the trip. Like, it's just part of their, like, tradition.
And that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
think if you're doing something like that, go ahead. Come on down.
Yeah.
Have a
Oh,
party.
okay. Yeah.
But if you're anything else than that,
That's fair.
I don't think so. They got, and the biggest headache of them all, and I'm pretty sure the person waiting in the room will understand this. They did not have Jack Blinky cups anymore.
Oh, yeah.
They had a Viking horn
Yeah.
to give away. A Viking horn.
Yeah. Well, you're talking 4 weeks in?
But for maybe not even.
Not even?
Well, they even said when we asked
Oh,
about
yeah, that they
didn't
were
have
out
it,
for 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks. So they only had the Blinky cup. I got an idea, guys. How about
yeah,
instead of
refills.
just giving those cups away,
Yeah.
there's a refill price.
Yeah.
I know that's
Because
hard to understand.
Crazy.
But I think you should do that.
And the crazy part is what I will also say is that because we didn't want the Viking horn per se, so I was like, well, what is it if I just get like the plastic cup? And they're like, same price. I was like, well, then give me the horn. I don't want it, but now I feel like I have to have it.
I'm feeling horny, I guess.
Oh my God.
And we took it.
We took it. I
Overall,
definitely think that
6.5.
Yeah.
I give it a 6.5.
No, that's very fair. I think that's very fair. I
was high at the beginning. There's still some shows. Look, this is just my overall
For me,
review.
I feel
By
like-
the end of the season, I think I'll give it, I'll see whatever the grade is. But it just feels like the
It's
event
missing.
had so much potential.
Yeah.
And then there's this, like, we trip somewhere.
Well, I do know that they're losing a lot of people, like left and right, that people are quitting.
Oh, my.
Yeah, just because of, I think, a lot of the things that are going on.
Yeah.
But
circumstances we've talked about.
yeah, so it's hard. It's hard because I know that the scare actors that are there are really like putting forth. And for me, you know, I still stand by Killarney Diner. That's like one of my hands down favorites. I think the scare actors in there are phenomenal and really go above and beyond.
Best house ever. For Busch Gardens, best house ever.
Yeah. And I would love to see more theming like that within their houses.
100%. I think they went.
I think that if you had something like that, you would have higher rankings.
Especially because, like, that house doesn't exist in, like, SeaWorld Tampa. They don't have that house. This is
gorgeous.
homegrown.
And they did a really good job of, like, changing it through the past few years in order for it to be different enough, but also make sense through the process, which I liked.
100%.
It wasn't like, oh, let's just
100%.
you know, change it. So I agree with you. If anything, maybe a few points higher, like decimal points higher, 10.
Like a 6.8?
Yep, that's why I said 10.
6.8.
Higher. Because of Fiends. Fiends knocked it out of the park for me. I love Fiends.
Yeah,
which
never
kind
mind.
of goes into
Scoop them up!
our 5K.
What a transition you did there,
I
kid.
did.
We did the Fiends Frenzy 5K
Yeah.
the next morning at Howl-O-Scream. And
Which I do not recommend. Like, I will never do that again. Of doing Howl-O-Scream the night before. We went around the park twice.
Yep.
We were drinking. So slightly
Beverages
dehydrated.
were
And
there.
we never got to the point of being, like, we were very aware, but I still think that it probably wasn't the best idea,
100%.
seeing that we had to be back in the park before 6 a.m. in order to do the run.
Yeah, so we got there at 6:10, checking in and stuff like that, warming up. The race started at 7. But what I'll give credit, because we looked at SeaWorld's one, and there was a bunch of stuff that we were like, God, I hope we get that. And other than time, they did exactly that. We had a DJ, we had banging music that did not help our headaches at the beginning of the day. But eventually we got there. They had Jack the Pumpkin Man
Oh yeah, taking some really good photos.
photos with you, and then the stilt walkers showed up, and I'm like, okay, now we're getting into some things.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Then we do the race, and throughout the race, not only are security members and members of the squads out there clapping you along, but there were scare actors throughout the entry
And
with different costumes and stuff. Like, that was awesome.
a concern of mine is that I felt like, because they were going to be scare actors, that like, what if they chased me? They never moved. They were actually very encouraging.
Yeah. One got, so our shirt
In
had
like
run
a
up
funny
front.
way, yeah.
Ironically.
Ironically.
It said run in our white shirts,
I
but
made
like
them.
the back had like a handprint trying to grab you.
Yeah, bloody.
And he actually made a reference. He was like, my handprint's already on you. And I'm like, good for you, guy. It was a fun time. Then after the race, we got our medals. Then we proceeded to go get adult beverage because we got to, hey guys, look, you got to, what is it called? Hair of the dog. We had a little hair of the dog action happening. We had our beverage, and then they opened up Dark Coaster.
Yeah.
And we were
Which
near
was
the
like,
front.
let me tell you, the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Not just because of being able to do it, but like the wind.
Oh, God.
like
Jesus.
the solid breeze that I was able to, I think we were like one of the first 5 like cars to go. Yeah.
Right. And I feel for any person coming to that park after.
Later.
because that entire ride was encompassed with sweaty people. But that's okay. We took a couple of more pictures with our medals and stuff like that. We listened to some music, and then we were off. Highly suggested. I really hope they do a second one next year, because I am alls in for the 5K, the Fiends 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know what my favorite-
that was a 10.
Yeah.
That part of the
Oh, yeah.
that's a 10.
You know what made it an 11 for me?
Huh.
I beat you. It's on record. My name is before yours. Record.
Have so many things I want to absolutely rage about right now, but I'm not. I'll let you have this. Just know next year.
I beat you. No, don't leave me.
Yeah. When I leave you.
Don't leave me. Listen, I gave you opportunities. I was like, go.
Opportunities, you know?
No, to leave me. I'm saying I gave you opportunities to leave me. You didn't leave me. It just happened to be that the finish line was on a curve, and then you were there, and I was on the inside of the curve because I'm a slacker, and I wanted the
you
shortest
cheated the whole time. You were like that episode of what is it, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when the butler gets in the taxi. That's what you were just riding trains.
Okay, no. Did you notice there was a part where you made a curve this way, and then you went down and you made a curve this way, and I literally was on the curve on this side and crossed over to be on the curve on the next.
Your NASCAR side came out. It was like always be on the inside.
I wish I could have drafted from someone.
Why is Brooke in Heelys just attached to someone?
Those hills were brutal, though. I'll say that. But
were.
So fantastic.
So fun.
They did an amazing job. Like you said, I'd do it again.
Highly suggest. All right. So thank you for watching or listening to Hunter's podcast. Remember, tomorrow's special episode will drop where we are house ranking HHN 2024. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for listening, watching. Check out all the stuff that Adam, the composer that we talked to earlier, I'll Play Mother, which is on VOD, and the soundtrack's out now. Go check those out. All right, we out of here.
Stay spooky. No, that's not it.
God damn it.